The teleological argument is one of the strongest arguments that prove the universe has an intelligent designer who created it from the beginning. This evidence derives its name from the Greek word telos, which means design. The teleological argument goes something like this. 1. Every design had a designer. 2. The universe has highly complex design. So, 3. The universe had a designer. Isaac Newton implicitly confirmed the validity of the teleological argument when he marveled at the design of our solar system. He wrote, "This most beautiful system of the sun, planets, and comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being." Yet it was William Paley who made the argument famous by his common-sense assertion that every watch requires a watchmaker. Imagine you're walking along in the woods and you find a diamond-studded Rolex on the ground. What do you conclude is the cause of that watch? The wind and the rain? Erosion? Some combination of natural forces? Of course not. There's absolutely no question in your mind that some intelligent being made that watch and that some unfortunate individual must have accidentally dropped it. Scientists are now finding that the universe in which we live is like that diamond-studded Rolex, except the universe is even more precisely designed than the watch. In fact, the universe is specifically tweaked to enable life on Earth, a planet with scores of improbable and interdependent life-supporting conditions that make it a tiny oasis in a vast and hostile universe. These highly precise and interdependent environmental conditions, which are called anthropic constants, make up what is known as the anthropic principle. Anthropic comes from a Greek word that means human or man. The anthropic principle is just a fancy title for the mounting evidence that has many scientists believing that the universe is extremely fine-tuned or designed to support human life here on Earth. In this vast and hostile universe, we Earthlings are much like astronauts who can survive only in the small confines of their spaceship. Like a spaceship, our Earth supports life as it hurls through lifeless space. But also like a spaceship, a slight change or malfunction in any one of a number of factors in either the universe or the Earth itself could fatally alter the narrowly defined environmental conditions we need to survive. Anthropic constant 1, oxygen level. On Earth, oxygen comprises 21% of the atmosphere. That precise figure is an anthropic constant that makes life on Earth possible. If oxygen were 25%, fires would erupt spontaneously. If it were 15%, human beings would suffocate. Anthropic constant 2, atmospheric transparency. The degree of transparency of the atmosphere is an anthropic constant. If the atmosphere were less transparent, not enough solar radiation would reach the Earth's surface. If it were more transparent, we would be bombarded with far too much solar radiation. In addition to atmospheric transparency, the atmospheric composition of precise levels of nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and ozone are in themselves anthropic constants. Anthropic constant 3, Moon-Earth gravitational interaction. This one regards the gravitational interaction that the Earth has with the Moon. If the interaction were greater than it currently is, tidal effects on the oceans, atmosphere, and rotational period would be too severe. If it were less, orbital changes would cause climatic instabilities. In either event, life on Earth would be impossible. Anthropic constant 4, carbon dioxide level. If the CO2 level were much higher than it is now, a runaway greenhouse effect would develop, we'd all burn up. And if the level were lower than it is now, plants would not be able to maintain efficient photosynthesis. We'd all suffocate. Anthropic constant 5, gravity. If the gravitational force were altered by just 0.37 zeros followed by a 1%, our sun would not exist, and therefore neither would we. Anthropic constant 6. If the universe had expanded at a rate just 1/millionth more slowly than it did, expansion would have stopped, and the universe would have collapsed on itself before any stars had formed. If it had expanded any faster, then no galaxies would have formed. Anthropic constant 7. Any of the laws of physics can be described as a function of the velocity of light. Even a slight variation in the speed of light would alter the other constants and preclude the possibility of life on Earth. Anthropic constant 8. If water vapor levels in the atmosphere were greater than they are now, a runaway greenhouse effect would cause temperatures to rise too high for human life. If they were less, an insufficient greenhouse effect would make the Earth too cold to support human life. Anthropic constant 9. If Jupiter were not in its current orbit, the Earth would be bombarded with space material. Jupiter's gravitational field acts as a cosmic vacuum cleaner, attracting asteroids and comets that might otherwise strike Earth. Anthropic constant 10. If the thickness of the Earth's crust were greater, too much oxygen would be transferred to the crust to support life. If it were thinner, volcanic and tectonic activity would make life impossible. Anthropic constant 11. If the rotation of the Earth took longer than 24 hours, temperature differences would be too great between night and day. If the rotation period were shorter, atmospheric wind velocities would be too great. Anthropic constant 12. The 23-degree axial tilt of the Earth is just right. If the tilt were altered slightly, surface temperatures would be too extreme on Earth. Anthropic constant 13. If the atmospheric discharge or lightning rate were greater, there would be too much fire destruction. If it were less, there would be too little nitrogen fixing in the soil. Anthropic constant 14. If there were more seismic activity, much more life would be lost. If there was less, nutrients on the ocean floors and in river runoff would not be cycled back to the continents through tectonic uplift. Yes, even earthquakes are necessary to sustain life as we know it. Anthropic constant 15. If the centrifugal force of planetary movements did not precisely balance the gravitational forces, nothing could be held in orbit around the Sun. Astrophysicist Hugh Ross has calculated the probability that these and other constants, 122 of them in all, would exist today for any planet in the universe by chance, i.e. one without divine design. Assuming there are 10 to the power of 22 planets in the entire universe, a very large number, that's one with 22 zeros following it, his answer is shocking. 1 chance in 10 to the power of 138. That's 1 chance in 1 with 138 zeros after it. There are only 10 to the power of 70 atoms in the entire universe. In effect, there is 0 chance that any planet in the universe would have the life-supporting conditions that we have unless there is an intelligent designer behind it all. Nobel laureate Arno Penzias, co-discoverer of the radiation afterglow, put it this way: astronomy leads us to a unique event, a universe which was created out of nothing and delicately balanced to provide exactly the conditions required to support life. In the absence of an absurdly improbable accident, the observations of modern science seem to suggest an underlying, one might say, supernatural plan, unquote. Cosmologist Ed Harrison uses the word proof when he considers the implications of the anthropic principle on the question of God. He writes, "Here is the cosmological proof of the existence of God, the design argument of Paley, updated and refurbished. The fine-tuning of the universe provides prima facie evidence of deistic design," unquote. The information in this video comes from Chapter 4 of the book I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist, written by Norman L. Geisler and Frank Turek.